Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, everybody, to this edition of our National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated Hope Health Ministry Temple Care Matters webinar. I'm not Sister Lyda Minor. She'll be joining us shortly, but I am so happy, glad to be her husband, Michael Minor. We'll get things started until she comes and join us. Again, we're thankful for everybody that's watching us here on Zoom and across social media, our different social media channels. We certainly hope that everybody on our team is taking an opportunity now to share it in their social media networks. We also have our question tonight. We're asking everybody to post in the chat or the comments one thing that they're thankful for. So let's do that. We thank our team behind the scenes for making these things happen, and we're just excited about where we are. All right, everybody, let's begin. A happy Heart Month. A good evening, NBCUSA family. We welcome you to our webinar. We're still doing this thing. Look at us. We're still moving steady along. Amen. We want to pause right now to thank everyone who supported us during the National Black Baptist Joint Session last month in Memphis. We had a great time there, and we were certainly blessed by all that came by the table and shared information, and certainly was glad to be among our fellow Baptists across the Baptist world. All right, we want to acknowledge our national leadership, our President, Dr. Jerry Young, our General Secretary, Dr. Alvin Edwards, the Chair of our Federal Faith-Based Development Initiative, Dr. Alvin Love, and I am humbled to serve as the National Director and our liaison to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. All right, everybody. In this evening's Temple Care Matters webinar, we'll share about February's suggested health observances, which is American Heart Association, American Heart Month, including, you know it, it's February, our NBCUSA Hope Wear Red Sunday. Yes, Wear Red Sunday, Sunday, February 18th, the third Sunday. We're looking forward to seeing all those beautiful pictures. And of course, tomorrow is National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day. Look, we also will have some updates tonight from Let's Move NBCUSA and Mental Health First Aid. Finally, we'll preview some March health observances occurring before our next call. We want to remind everybody tonight that this evening's webinar is supported by funding from NIH's All of Us Research Program. And I'm sure you all are very familiar with that, right? We want you to join our NBCUSA Hope team in becoming one in a million in one of our nation's most robust research studies. To learn more, you may go to joinallofus.org/NBCUSA. All right. If this is your first time joining one of our webinars, we want you to participate in our NIH All of Us Research Program pre and post surveys. Okay. Our brother Duke and I is going to paste the link for the pre-survey now. So if you are not participated in it, or very few of them, we'd like you to take this survey. It's coming to the chat now, and those on social media, we will share it in just a minute. All right, and we'll share the post survey near the end of this evening's webinar, and we thank you in advance for your participation. All right, so the pre-survey, taking the opportunity to do that. And if you have somebody with you that's watching with you, that this is kind of one of their first times, we'd like for them to take it as well. That would be great. All right. This webinar is part of our continuing series of First Tuesday Temple Care Matters webinars. You know, they've evolved into hybrid events with virtual and in-person watch gatherings in our local NBCUSA congregations. In each session, we delve deeper into the 7 pillars of the Temple Care Matters. All right, you know what's next? It's time for our triple-demic update. All right, according to the UCLA Health, influenza and RSV are surging throughout the United States. And new cases of COVID-19 are not far behind. All right, everybody, please protect yourselves and the people around you by getting this year's flu vaccine and the updated COVID shot. Guess what? It's not too late for either of these. And there's evidence that getting both at once boosts immune response. I want you to know that I got both of them at once, and I'm still here. I still got 5 fingers on my right hand and on my left hand. COVID-19 and the flu shot. So it's still not too late. Go and get vaccinated. And then if you are people at most risk of RSV, you can get a monoclonal antibody injection if available and in consultation with your health professional. All right. Wow. I'm getting ready and get excited to talk about what we've been doing for years that has grown. I am getting ready to talk about one of the most wonderful things that we have done, are doing with the National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated. And then it's talking about Wear Red Sunday 2024. All right. This year, the NBCUSA is designated Sunday, February 18th. That's Sunday, February 18th, as Wear Red Sunday. On that Sunday, NBCUSA churches across the country will share information about women and heart health. We have Wear Red Sunday 2024 posts on our parent body and Hope Facebook pages. So we want you to take those pictures in your congregations, okay, and go to, you can do it on both of them, on our Hope Facebook page and our parent body convention Facebook page. We got several posts up there about the Wear Red Sunday. You see the picture of the ladies across there and whatnot. And what I want you to do is post your pictures. Post your pictures there in the comment section. We want to see them. We've had hundreds. Yes, there it is, Duke. That's what it looks like. When you see that, you post right underneath that. It should be a comment section. You can post your pictures there. We want to have a great showing. And I know I'm biased. I pastor in Mississippi. That's my home. I certainly am looking forward to a lot of Mississippi pictures there. We've also got a toolkit that we've had going for Wear Red Sunday. And you may go to hopenbc.com to download a toolkit. All right. And now I know you're tired of looking at me. So we're going to turn it over to the hands of our hostess with the mostest for this evening, our moderator, Sister Lida Minor, who will take us here and will share with our special guest. Sister Minor.
Hello, everybody. Hello. I apologize for my tardiness, but I think you were in capable hands with my wonderful partner in crime, my husband. So we're going to move on. Again, thank you all for coming. And you guys already know, I'm sure it has been said multiple times, that this is a production of the National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated Hope Health Ministry. And we're excited and happy, and we feel blessed to have each of you here tonight. And of course, we acknowledge our convention president, Dr. Jerry Young. All right, now for this month's special feature, this evening we will conduct a candid Q&A session about women and heart health. We're pleased to introduce our special guest panelist, Dr. Stephen Kelly. Welcome, Dr. Kelly. All right, Dr. Kelly is a native of Cotton Plant, Arkansas. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree in biology at the University of Central Arkansas in 1991. Completed the requirements for his medical degree from the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences at Little Rock School of Medicine, and completed his internal medicine residency at St. Louis University. Specializing in cardiovascular disease, Dr. Kelly returned to UAMS and fulfilled a fellowship in general cardiology medicine. A year later, Dr. Kelly completed an interventional fellowship at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. In 2008, Dr. Kelly and his wife, Danielle Kelly, co-founded Jumpstart Your Heart Incorporated, a nonprofit organization providing free cardiovascular screenings to high school competitive athletes. Today, the father of Omni Kelly, Kaylin Johnson, and Raven Kelly is a partner at Baton Rouge Cardiology Clinic and is actively involved in his community and his church, Greater King David Baptist Church. Welcome, Dr. Kelly. We're glad you're here, and we are grateful for you sharing with us this evening. All right, so let's begin. Dr. Kelly, what is the number one killer of women?
The number one killer of women is cardiovascular disease. And when we speak of cardiovascular disease, we're talking about strokes, we talk about heart attacks, peripheral arterial disease, renal failure. So all these things fall into the realm of cardiovascular disease.
Wow, that's interesting. So how do the signs of a heart attack present differently in women compared to how they present in men?
I'll be honest, we hear that a lot, and I'm going to answer that question. I'll go around just a little bit because I want to make sure we don't miss. Most of the time, cardiovascular disease, you can have symptoms of what we call angina or angina. And it's a symptom that happens with activity as well as mostly at rest, but it happens with activity and get better with rest. So you can have chest pressure. A lot of people think it's chest pain. I know you hear a lot about the elephant sitting on your chest, but sometimes it can be chest discomfort. I saw a gentleman on Sunday a lady on Sunday actually, who had jaw discomfort with activity, but it's a set of symptoms that happen with activity and get better with rest. And so I always tell patients that means that you actually have to be up moving in order for you to get those symptoms. Now, sometimes women can present with shortness of breath as their first symptom. Sometimes it can be easy fatigue. But once again, it's a set of symptoms that happen every time you actively exert yourself. And so we hear about interscapular pain with pain in the back. But once again, it's with activity and gets better with rest. So.
Okay, thank you. What are the risk factors for heart disease in women?
The risk factors for cardiovascular disease in general, there are some we can modify and some we cannot. The ones we cannot modify are your age, your gender, and your family history. So it's very, very important that you know your family history, okay? But then the risk factors that we can modify, we always say we want to control the controllables. And number one is high blood pressure. And high blood pressure, a normal blood pressure is 120/80, irregardless of your ethnicity. Okay, a lot of times as Blacks, we've been told that our blood pressure tends to run higher than other ethnic groups, but that's not true. Okay, we want to make sure that we control the numbers. And if you know you have high blood pressure, every time you get your blood pressure checked, you should ask what is blood pressure. Okay, because that's very, very important. Because if you're going to take the medication, we want to make sure that you are controlling that number. Okay, that's one risk factor. The other one is diabetes. Diabetes is a big, big risk factor when you talk about cardiovascular disease. The leading cause of stroke, blindness, need for amputation, or renal failure is usually a patient with diabetes. Obviously, if you have diabetes, you should always know what your A1C is, and that's a number that's usually checked at least 3 to 4 times a year. The normal, we like to keep that number 6.5 or less. Obviously, you don't get any high fives for A1Cs of 7, 8s, 9s, and 10s. That's how you put yourself at a high risk of having cardiovascular disease. High cholesterol is another big risk factor for cardiovascular disease. Cholesterol doesn't make you feel bad, but if you have diabetes, it tends to affect your cholesterol levels as well. And then, if you have diabetes, we're going to be more stringent on how we control your cholesterol. There's several components of the cholesterol. That's the total. You hear about the bad cholesterol, which is your LDL. And so you remember you want that number low. Okay. And that really depends on if you've already had an event, which we call secondary prevention, or if you have primary prevention if you've not had an event. Now, in a patient with diabetes, we're going to control those numbers as aggressively as if you've already had some type of cardiovascular disease. And so the LDL is your bad cholesterol. And we want that number, once again, if you've had an event or diabetic, to be 70 or less. If not, we at least want to get the LDL to 100. Your HDL is your good cholesterol. We want that number as high as you can get it. There's not a whole lot of medication that can be used for HDL, but exercise is very, very important to get the HDL up. And then the triglyceride is the other component. The other big risk factor, obviously, is smoking. If you smoke, all we can tell you is just stop smoking. We know that that's a bad habit, but when you smoke, that just really, really adds fuel to the fire, and no fun intended there. But it's important. So those are your big risk factors. And like I said, knowing your family history is very, very important. If you've had a male in your family who's had a significant cardiovascular event less than age 55, or a female less than age 65, that's something that's very, very important. So
a lot of stuff to watch.
yes.
What can women do to reduce their risk? And you've shared a little bit already, talking about exercise and keeping the cholesterol down. Are there other things that women can do?
Yes, I mean, so exercise, honestly, when I look at treating cardiovascular disease, I always tell my patients that it's kind of a three-pronged approach. There's the dietary piece, exercise piece, and the medication piece, okay? Now, most patients want to control the medication piece, them and Dr. Google, but physician really don't, physician really don't need help. Okay, but it's important that you do exercise on a regular basis, and you want to get at least 30, 45 minutes, at least moderate exercise, 5 to 7 days a week. And dietary things are very important. I mean, if you know you have high blood pressure, this is where you can use the internet to find things that are low in sodium. Okay, there's sodium in everything that we eat, so we don't need to add any salt to our foods. Okay, so we highly recommend that you don't even have a salt shaker in your house. Okay, and we don't, a lot of times the seasoning salts, we know that trick too. Okay, that's not seasoning, much seasoning is more salt. Okay, and your sodium is going to affect your high blood pressure. So we want to make sure you have a low sodium diet. You want to make sure you have a low cholesterol diet. That means you can't eat fried foods on a regular basis. You can't eat fast foods on a regular basis. You got to watch your concentrated sweets. As you mentioned earlier, I grew up in rural Arkansas, Cotton Plant, Arkansas. Every Sunday there was a piece of cake, a pie, or something on the table. But as you get older, when you know better, you got to do better. Okay, and so you got to watch things that are heavy, have a lot of hidden fats in it. And then the other thing, watch sugary drinks. Okay, because sugary drinks, if you're diabetic, okay, there's no such thing as a diet soda on a diabetic's diet. There's no such thing as a piece of cake and pie every day on a diabetic's diet. But these are the things that over time, once these numbers become uncontrolled and the diabetes and all these other risk factors start to have effects on your vasculature, then it's kind of downward spiral then. And so these are the things you want to do to try to prevent it. But dietary things and exercise is very, very important.
Very good. We hear so much about age and heart disease. So is heart disease something that only older women should worry about? Is there a certain age that we should pay more attention to heart health?
Well, I think it's important to know your risk factors. One thing about this disease, it doesn't really care how young, how old you are. It doesn't care if you're thin. It doesn't care if you're overweight. If you have the right set of risk factors that we just talked about, this disease, the longer you have these risk factors, the more likely you are that you'll have some form of cardiovascular disease. I have patients as young as 30 years old who are on dialysis, or who've had strokes, or who are blind from their diabetes. Now, they were unfortunate that they started the process of diabetes in their teenage years, and it just was a progressive process for them. So once again, know your risk factors, and then know your body, okay? You have to move in order to know when there's a problem, okay? And I think a lot of times what I see is, we think if we get up and, sweep the floor, sweep your house, a mop, we all know that game, right? Take about 15 breaks, move the same, piece of furniture around about 10 times, okay, so that you avoid symptoms. So I think if the age in itself is not what I really chase, it's looking for risk factors and really, really watching for symptoms in those patients.
Okay. So it has no respect of persons in terms of age.
Oh man.
Okay. Thank you. Let's talk about vitamins a little bit. You know, we live in a society where everybody is popping all these vitamins, myself included. I take a few. We even have the chewables now to make it easier. So, can taking vitamins reduce a woman's risk of a heart attack?
Yeah, so I think vitamins, usually most of them are water soluble, meaning that most of the components of the vitamins are passed out through the urine. Now, if you eat a balanced diet with good number of fruits and vegetables on your plate, on a regular basis, you may not necessarily need a vitamin. Okay, but most of us know that we don't eat the daily recommended allowance of vitamins and minerals, and so you do have to take a supplement. Now, you don't have to buy the $80 supplement. Okay, you can buy, a central vitamin or multivitamin over the counter and take it daily along to supplement with your fruits and vegetables. So.
Right. So no harm in taking them, but it's better to get them from our food as best we can.
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds great. All right. Let's talk since I said food. So what is a heart healthy diet? What are heart healthy foods that we should concentrate on?
Okay, you about to lose everybody on the call right now when I start this. No, I'm just kidding. So listen, we always tell patients that there's nothing wrong with the foods. Okay, I think the two things we see are how the foods are prepared and how much we eat at one time. Okay, I think if you're honest with yourself, we eat too much in one setting. And so obviously we don't recommend frying foods on a regular basis. We'd rather for you to take your skin off, take the excess fat off the meats and bake or broil the meats, and try to use natural peppers and things to get the flavor of your food that way. And then obviously you got to watch, eating starches, a lot of starches. Okay. But once again, portion size, portion size, portion size. Okay. And so it's fruits, vegetables. You can eat all those you want. But then just watch how you prepare the foods is what makes a difference.
Okay. So I heard you say portion size, variety, making sure that there's fruits and vegetables included, watching the way that we prepare foods. The fried should be maybe a treat every now and again and not all the time. And sodium and starch. Watch those.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I think that's pretty easy. Now we just got to put it in practice. Next question. Should we avoid secondhand smoke? And the second part of that question is, can secondhand smoke increase our risk of having a heart attack?
Yes and yes. So smoking is smoking, okay? And so studies have shown secondhand smoke in some ways can put you more harm than primary smoke, okay? So yeah, if you're in the house with somebody who smokes on a regular basis, you can still potentially have some of the cardiovascular events related to smoking. But once again, though, I think that's in combination with all the other big risk factors, okay? And that's why I think it's so important that one, the numbers. Two, all the big risk factors, which smoking is. And so yeah, secondhand smoke can give us that risk. But, do everything you can to minimize your exposure to them. So.
Okay. Did I understand you to say that secondhand smoke can sometimes be worse than being the actual smoker? Is that correct?
Yeah, because you lose twice because you wasn't even smoking and you still got a problem with it.
Wow. That is interesting. Concerning pregnant women and cardiovascular disease, is it safe for a woman with heart disease to become pregnant, to have a baby?
Well, once again, it depends on the degree of heart disease that patient has. Obviously, you have high blood pressure, all these other risk factors we talked about. You want to make sure that you're getting the prenatal care that you need. Okay, so that these medical problems are actively managed. Now, there are some women, if you had what we call a peripartum cardiomyopathy, or weak heart muscle from a previous pregnancy, a lot of time we're going to recommend that, you kind of avoid, especially if your heart function returns back to normal. Then you really probably want to avoid another pregnancy, because trying to deliver a baby and your heart function is poor. And so we talk about an ejection fraction, and a normal is 55 or higher. But if you have a weakened heart muscle where the heart function is less than 40%, you may have a tough time trying to deliver your child. And so that's important. We usually don't recommend a pregnancy in that patient. Obviously, if you have high blood pressure of the lungs, which some young females have, pulmonary hypertension, if it's severe, that can be very difficult to carry a pregnancy. There have unfortunately been some ladies who've developed what we call spontaneous coronary artery dissections that happen, or have heart attacks right after delivery of their child. If that's happened in your history before, you want to be, avoid pregnancy if we can. So there are some ladies who, I think all women are potentially at risk for cardiovascular disease during pregnancy. But obviously, like I said, the patient with the cardiomyopathies, the peripartum cardiomyopathies, are the patients who've had previous coronary artery dissections, or if you have extremely high blood pressure of the lungs, or even if you have extreme blood pressures, what we call systemic arterial hypertension, which is the blood pressure that we all hear about. If those numbers are extremely high, those numbers need to be controlled and managed throughout the pregnancy, because you've heard of eclampsia or pre-eclampsia. These things can kill the mother at the time of delivery, so we got to be ever so careful. So,
Wow. Wow. That is something to think about. Dr. Kelly, you have covered so much tonight. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
yeah, I think when it talk about cardiovascular disease, I think there are three things I want to make sure that one, I want you to know your numbers, control the controllables. Okay. Two, I want you to pick a set of physicians who would take care of you, who you have a trusting relationship with, not a friendship, but a relationship that you feel that they are doing the best they can to give you the best outcomes. Because what I really see is a lot of times we don't pick the right team. Okay, we care more about our haircut and our way we dress than we do about our healthcare team. Okay, we let other people pick our healthcare team, and if you want a physician in your area who is good and can have good rapport, okay, with you, okay, because who's on your team can determine your outcomes. Okay, and so it's important that you pick the right team, a physician. And the next thing is go get evaluated. Don't wait on symptoms, okay, because your first symptom, okay, can be death, or it can be a heart. So if you know you have these risk factors, then go get yourself evaluated. Nowadays, you usually do not have to wait on a referral from your primary doctor. You find your cardiologist that you can trust, and go and ask EKG. Okay, you need an ultrasound of your heart, which is an echocardiogram, which can tell us about other parts, other potential heart disease. Okay, we all have heard of people having congestive heart failure. We've heard of people having atrial fibrillation. These things can be detected by an EKG or by an ultrasound. Okay, there's also valve issues that can happen that can be life-threatening to you. Okay, I take care of patients who have what we call aortic valve stenosis, which is a disease of aging, but I can tell you that there's a huge disparity in the treatment of that disease. Okay, and part of it is you got to go get diagnosed, and so you got to have the echoes. And if you have to have a stress test, I think people, I don't want the treadmill. I don't want the treadmill. No, you want the treadmill. If they tell you that you have to have the pharmacological stress test or the chemical stress test, then get it done. And because if you trust your physician, then you feel like they're trying to put you in the best position. Okay.
Sure.
So it's very, very important that you do that. And I think the last thing, understand your treatment plan. I was said earlier about Dr. Google. I see a lot of patients who want to read and on the internet, and that's fine, but that's for entertainment only. But if you got the right team, you should be able to have good rapport with your team, and so that you're getting the best outcomes.
Excellent information. That is great. I think too many people who look like us don't try to build the right team around them.
Correct.
We know we mess up on some of the other stuff. That's a given, but we really forget about helping ourselves by finding the right team. So thank you. We want to take just a few questions, Dr. Kelly.
Sure.
I'm going to go to the Q&A section of our screen here. I think we have a question coming in from our online audience. Here's one. They're asking if you have pain, if a woman has pain on her left side below the collarbone, should this be a cardiac concern?
Well, I think it could be, okay? But I want to make sure that when we get off the call, I want women to really look, as you're active, looking for a certain constellation of symptoms. It could, if that left collarbone pain keeps happening every time you exert yourself, associated with some shortness of breath, where you have to stop and rest, you stop and rest and those symptoms go away, and then you do the same activity again and it starts back again. By definition, that potentially could be your angina, okay? And so go get evaluated. You know, I often tell patients, you know, if you don't wait till your car stops before you go evaluate. And so don't ignore symptoms, because a lot of times, you know, I'd rather for you to come and let me, you know, evaluate you and tell you that, okay, and I don't think it's your heart, and for you to sit at home and guesstimate. Okay, so look for symptoms. Once again, symptoms with activity get better with rest, which means that we got to get up and be moving. So.
Okay, interesting. Here's a comment, or a question rather, comment and a question. It says there is a noted paradigm on salt. The new directive stated we don't even need a salt shaker. How will that promote good health?
With no salt shaker? Oh no, that's huge, especially if you're hypertensive, or if you have heart failure. Okay, so say for instance, if somebody's heart muscle function has declined and they have heart failure, the common thing to get them in trouble is that they've eaten something that's heavily laden in salt. Okay, I tell you, I mean, I practice here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and most of the time it's gumbo, jambalaya, okay, or some homemade soup that lands them in the hospital every time. Okay.
Oh wow! Wow.
It's a lot of hidden salts. Okay, and so we call it the sneaky salts.
So you got to read labels.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank
like I said, I wouldn't even bring a salt shaker in my house.
Okay. We got to break some habits in. Thank you, Dr. Kelly. This was absolutely fabulous. That's all of our questions for now on that segment. So we appreciate you very much for being with us. Now we're going to get moving, NBCUSA family. We talked about movement. We heard Dr. Kelly talk about it. So now let's hear from our NBCUSA movement guru, Sister Nettie Johnson. Sister Nettie, it's in your hands.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Kelly, for that great presentation. Y'all, if we were drinking people, and if we were to have taken a sip every time we heard the word exercise mentioned, when he talked about things like lowering, raising your HDL, the good cholesterol, or lowering risk, we would all be quite tipsy right now. But you know, we good Baptists, so we don't play those kind of drinking games. We just want to say really quickly from Let's Move National Baptist, we're in the new year. We're in February. Usually by about this point of the year, those that made New Year's resolutions to move more, sadly, a lot of folks have forgotten them, but we hope that that is not the case. And whatever commitment you made to yourself to be able to take steps to improve and protect your health, that you're being more consistent in it. And we just want to encourage you to please keep engaging in band. Please keep moving and to report what you are doing. And we want to announce another one of our $100 gift card winners for members that have been doing just that. And this month's winner is Constance Brown. I think I saw, yeah, she was in the group. Constance, are you still on the call? Are you still here, Constance?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Would you be willing? Now, how do we pick these? And this is for everybody. Dr. Miner is so gracious in that he allows us to have these drawings month after month, and we pick from individuals that are not only present on the calls and members of Les Nouveau National Baptist, but they're engaging in some way. And so your name went into the drawing because of your sharing about some of the movement changes that you made this year. I hate to put you on the spot. Would you be willing to just share a little bit?
Yes. Some of the thank you. Some of the movement that I've been doing is committed to walking at least 3 to 5 times a week, and it's automatic. I get up at 7 a.m., but I have an accountability partner, which is my neighbor. And so we started last April. We have been consistently walking. Now, what we were doing was 1.5 miles. Our goal is to do a 5K by the end of the year. So we got to get up to 3 miles, but we're slowly progressing with it. We're encouraging each other. We're praying while we're out there walking. We're talking about what we can do to improve our churches. And we're trying to drink more water. That's a deficit, is the water.
Look at you and look at God. Look at
Right.
this. You're hitting so many things, the socialization, the fellowship, the spiritual aspect, the commitment, the accountability. We're so proud of you. And hopefully, y'all, anybody getting some ideas from this sister?
And
Um,
can I share one thing that I didn't say?
yes,
I
ma'am.
I need a total knee. And I asked the doctor, what could I do to avoid it? Because I've had one. He said, lose the weight. I've lost 30 pounds too since last year. And it was, so, you don't always have to have surgery. And I may eventually have to, but that takes pressure, for every pound you're putting on these knees, the weight. So the walking, but it's automatically a part of what I do. People will say, what are you doing now? Walking. Don't call Connie at 7 because she's walking.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations for the way that you are honoring God through the
Thank you.
nurturing and stewardship of your body. Praise God. Look, people just talking up some stuff for you in the chat. Congratulations, y'all. And look, we don't need no more reports. She done gave us like a praise report, some inspiration. So again, you will be getting contacted via email. Congratulations on your win. Y'all, let's find our fit. The sister found what works for her and she's consistent in it. And y'all know I say this all the time, find your fit and be consistent in it. I'm going to drop in the chat in a second the 2 links for you to join us in band where you're sharing, Sister Constance, others share in there, and also for you to log the movement that what you're doing. Let's keep moving for our health. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Sister Nettie. That was absolutely awesome. That was great. So we know that motion is lotion, moving is good. So congratulations, Sister Connie, and everybody. Let's keep on moving. Sister Nettie, thank you for encouraging us so much. All right, we are going to remind everyone now about NBCUSA's collaboration with the National Institutes of Health's All of Us research program. Our community isn't just unique in culture and tradition, but also in our health needs. Participating in the All of Us research program is a step towards making sure that health research considers all of our needs. Visit www.joinallofus.org/NBCUSA to enroll in the program and to help make research more inclusive. Hashtag join all of us today. We also have a brand new QR code to promote NBCUSA involvement with NIH. Brother Duke, which you already got it up there. Thank you very much. All right, we ask each of you to scan the QR code now and share that with others if you don't mind. And I think Dr. Miner has my phone. He'll have to do it for me over there. All right, so Dr. Miner promised last month to provide a $400 marketing stipend to the region that has the most
Thought y'all forgot.
UTM and web page. He's over here talking to himself. And analytics each month. And I don't think that happened. I think he forgot. Oh, it did happen. Oh, it did happen. Okay, he was playing with me. He was teasing me because I thought he was shaking his head saying no. All righty, so we got it. Brother Duke, can you tell us which region won this month? And we're gonna.
Sure, I can tell you that the region that had the most QR scans, drum roll, Southwest Region 2. Southwest Region 2.
Congratulations. Woohoo!
With the
Southwest
Midwest
region.
coming in at a close second.
All
That
right.
is super. Yay. Congrats.
We rock, we rock.
Look at y'all. That is great. Congrats. Sister Copper, Sister Nettie, and everybody in your region.
Yeah.
So everybody else, better luck.
Arkansas,
next.
Louisiana.
Yes. Congrats,
Thank you.
folks. So better luck next month for everybody else. Remember that it all begins with scanning the QR code, followed by the www.joinallofus.org/NBCUSA landing page with the picture of me and Dr. Minor, and then you create an account. So it is scan the QR code, go to the page, create an account. That's how it works. All right, now we'll share information about and there's the picture that you'll be looking for on the landing page. If you don't see that, you're not at the right page. Now we'll share information about National Black HIV and AIDS Day, and we'll hear updates on our mental health training efforts. Sister Bettina, it is in your hands, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As you heard earlier, tomorrow, February the 7th, is National Black AIDS Awareness Day. Next slide, please. HIV remains a persistent public health problem in the United States. And in 2022, approximately 32,100 new cases of it occurred. And still today, the highest subpopulation that is infected is Black African American, gay, and bisexual men. Next slide, please. So, having said that, I want you to understand that it does not matter who you are, that HIV can affect anybody. So it doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is. It doesn't matter what your race is. It doesn't matter what your income level is. It doesn't even matter where you live. But also with that caveat, there are individuals who are more inclined to become infected with HIV based on the percentage of their as compared to the percentage of their population. And so the highest rates of HIV in their communities are causes risk for new infections with each sexual or injected drug use encounter. And because the reasons for this is because of a range of social or economic or demographic factors, such as stigma, discrimination, income, education, and geographic regions can also affect people's risk as well as their HIV-related outcomes. So having said that, we know that Black people and Hispanic people are more at risk. So next slide, please. So Black African Americans age 13 plus account for 40% of the people who are living with HIV. And then Hispanic persons that are age 13 or plus account for 25% of the people with HIV infection. And we talked about the fact that the Black women are disproportionately affected by HIV as compared to other women in the race and ethnicities. Although annually the HIV infection rate is stable overall among Black women from 2017 to 2021, the rates of new HIV infection among Black women increased 10 times that of white and 4 times that of Latina women. And I want to say that it's not because of anything that they're doing different from other people. Again, we go back to the social determinants of health that we just mentioned about the fact of where they live, that there's more burden of the infection that's in their community, so it puts them at risk. Next slide, please. So we've been talking about HIV and we've been talking about AIDS. And I know that there may be some people out there who still truly do not understand what HIV is or the difference between HIV and AIDS. So HIV is the virus that infects you, and it attacks your immune cells, and it weakens those cells. And so then it makes it harder for you and your body to fight off any other infection. So it makes you vulnerable to other diseases. So that's HIV. The end stage or the late stage of HIV is called AIDS. And it's an infection that occurs when the body's immune system has been so badly damaged that it can't fight as effectively. And so in the United States, most people with HIV don't develop AIDS because they're taking HIV medicines as prescribed, and it stops the progression to the disease. Without HIV medicines, people with AIDS typically survive about 3 years. Once someone has a dangerous opportunistic illness, the life expectancy without treatment falls to about 1 year. However, HIV medicines can still help people at this stage. So it's important that you get on medicines early, because the earlier that you get on the medicines, the longer it takes for the disease to progress from HIV to AIDS, if it progresses from HIV to AIDS. So it's important that you go and you get tested and you know what your status is. And then you start practicing those behaviors that prevent you from becoming HIV positive. Or if you are already HIV positive, you get on the medications, and the medications will help you to live longer. So there is a national strategy that the federal government has, and that strategy was put in place in 2022, and it goes until 2025. And it's the roadmap that we're using in order to help us to end this epidemic in the United States by 2030. And it recognizes racism as a serious public health threat, and it drives and affects both HIV outcomes and the disparity. The strategy highlights that while HIV remains a threat in every part of the United States, certain populations bear most of the burden, signaling where HIV prevention, the care, and treatment efforts must be focused. It therefore designates 5 priority populations. Those populations are gay, bisexual, and other men who have sex with men, in particularly Black, Latino, and American Indian and Alaskan Native men, Black women, transgender women, youth aged 13 to 24 years of old, and then people who inject drugs. Next slide, please. So I went through that rather fast, but I want you to know that coming April 18th, 2024, that we're going to be having a very special webinar, and it's going to talk about syphilis as a dangerous drug resistance and shortage, a national crisis webinar. And you can see the times there, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, and 5 p.m. Western. Now, why are we putting such an emphasis on this? Is because one of the reasons is because if you get a sexually transmitted disease, it makes it more likely, and some say 10 times more likely, that you will get HIV. So is that because the other sexually transmitted disease causes HIV? No. It simply means that the behaviors that you are engaging in and the way you are engaging in those behaviors, you're putting yourself at risk. So we want to look at some strategies for how to keep you safer. Number one strategy we're going to focus on is abstinence, because believe it or not, it's a strategy. So come and join us and get the information that you need and learn more about not only HIV, but also about these other STDs that put you and your family at risk, and the ways that it do, and the role that the church can play in helping to reduce these risks.
All right. Thank you, Sister Bettina. That was fabulous information. So we look forward to the webinar in April. And there is Sister Bettina's contact information on the screen. And I do know that she is very open to speaking about mental health, speaking about reproductive health as well. All right.
Sister Lottie,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm glad you mentioned the word mental health because I wanted to give them an update and let them know that we are looking at a tentative date for our mental health first aid classes on March 6th. So again, you can find out more about that information. And I'll put it in the chat, but it's mental health first aid, MHFA 4 me at gmail.com. And I'll put that in the chat so that if you are interested, this will get you right in connection with our mental health first aid trainer, and we will be able to get you registered for that class.
Wonderful. That is super information. Thank you. And we hope everybody does take advantage of that class. All right. So moving on to talk about the American Kidney Fund. We want to remind everyone that Sunday, March the 3rd, it's NBCUSA. Oh, and thank you again, Sister Bettina. Let me go back because that was a plethora of information. Thank you again. Now, American Kidney Fund. Let's remind everyone that Sunday, March 3rd is the NBCUSA Hope American Kidney Fund Sunday. On that Sunday, we'll share information about kidney health. That's Sunday, March 3rd. Increasingly, people are turning to places of worship to get accurate, useful information about issues that uniquely affect Black Americans. Kidney health is one of those issues because kidney failure affects Black Americans more than any other group. Black Americans, Hispanics, and American Indians are at high risk for developing kidney failure. This risk is due in part to high rates of diabetes and high blood pressure in these communities. Black Americans are almost 3 times as likely as white Americans to develop kidney failure. This sounds a lot like what we already talked about with heart disease and HIV and AIDS. And while Black Americans make up only 13% of the population, they account for 30% of the people with kidney failure in the United States. Kidney Sunday is a great opportunity to raise awareness within your community, within your faith community, about the risk of kidney disease and the importance of getting tested. The Kidney Sunday Toolkit provides faith-based organizations with the tools and materials they need to include kidney health messages in programs and events. The materials are easy to use in a wide variety of settings with your organization, with your church. In fact, they can be used by anyone who wants to have a conversation about kidney disease with their friends, family, co-workers, community groups, anyone even outside of a faith-based setting. Help your faith-based family protect its kidney health. Help make the kidney connection. You may download the toolkit from our website, and you guys know the website by now is www.hopenbc.com. All right, for NBCUSA Hope American Kidney Fund Sunday and our other health observances, you may get information from us at info@hopenbc.com, and I'm sure somebody will type that in the chat, info@hopenbc.com, and you can go there for links to helpful resources for your church health observances, so you do not have to recreate the wheel. As I stated earlier, if this is your first time joining, or as my husband stated earlier, if this is your first time joining one of my webinars, we want you to participate in our NIH All of Us Research Program pre and post surveys. We are pasting the link for the survey as soon as Brother Duke has an opportunity to post it. He will put it there. And this is going to be your survey to tell us how we've done, what you've learned, and it's there. All right. Thanks again for your participation. Whew, that was a whole lot. And we went really fast because we wanted to cover everything. The best part is coming now. We want to hear from you. We want your input. You can type in the chat or raise your hand, raise your virtual hand. For those of you who are watching on social media, we'll do our best to capture your questions as well. All right, and before we start that, again, we want to thank the NIH All of Us Research Program for being our major sponsor this evening. All right, let's go to the chat and see what questions we have coming through. All right, here's some questions. All right. How is the medical community promoting the need to test for HIV? And is there any such thing as a home test? That's a great question. We test for everything else at home. We test for COVID. We test our kids for drug use. So can we test for HIV at home?
Yes, we can test for HIV at home. It's a home kit that you get. You take a sample. It's an oral or short test, and you take a sample and you send it to the lab, and they'll get you, excuse me. I'm sorry. You can take the test at home, and within 15-20 minutes, you can have your results.
Wow. So how is the medical community promoting the need to test for HIV? What are they doing to help?
They are following the national strategy. And
okay.
within their own communities, they usually have some kind of task force or some kind of HIV/AIDS group that's working with the local and with the statewide health department to make sure that the information gets out. Your doctor should ask you if you want to take a test, or they can't ask you, or if they don't ask you, then ask them. Let me step back a minute. You know the behaviors that you are engaged in better than anybody else. So you know whether or not there is a need for you to take an HIV test, because you know what behaviors that you've been involved in. And if you were involved some time ago, but you've stopped now and you never were tested, you still need to get tested. So talk to your doctor and get tested.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Pardon me? Okay, we have a question for Dr. Kelly. What exercise plans do you recommend?
Just as the young lady said earlier, we just recommend walking. Consistency is the key. Okay. I mean, you can't walk on Monday this week and Friday 4 weeks later. Okay. That's not gonna get it. Okay. So consistency is the key. So you have to pick a time of the day where you can consistently go get your exercise in. But there's no magic in the gym. A lot of people tell me they're gonna buy a treadmill, they're gonna buy. I'd rather you not even spend the money, because it usually end up being a clothes rack on most patients. Okay, I'm just being honest. Okay. So if you walking is free, 30 minutes of brisk walking. Okay. Now, good pace. If you can walk a mile every 12 to 15 minutes, that's a good pace. A little faster, I'm happy. But if it takes you 35, 40 minutes to walk a mile, then you're probably counting the birds in the tree. We don't need you to do that. We need you to really move. Okay. And then you can do the simple things we've always kind of done growing up, whether those are squats, whether those are standing lunges, whether you can do a few jumping jacks, if you can do push-ups, whether it's modified. These are all simple things you can do, but the key is you have to consistently do it. So.
All right. Thank you. Great information. One last question. And this is regarding heart health or diabetes, all those types of things. Are there places where diagnostic tests can be completed prior to seeing a specialist, since it sometimes takes a long time to get an appointment? Let's say somebody has symptoms, or they think they have symptoms, and they're anxious and it's taking too long to see the specialist. Other than going to the emergency room, obviously, what can they do? Are there places they can go for tests?
Well, no, I think honestly, especially if, once again, build the right team. So if you think you need a cardiologist, most of the time, this is where you can use your primary care physician, okay, or your primary care provider. They can get on the phone if they feel like your case is acute or somebody who needs to be seen sooner than later. That's a physician to physician call. It's 2 seconds. I do it all day long. If my colleagues call, say, hey, I got Ms. Jones, needs to be seen today, it's no problem. We're going to get it taken care of, okay, or in a shorter fashion. But once again, speak up for your health. Okay, I wouldn't just go and sit and say, well, they say they're gonna call me. No, we have to be persistent, you know, and
Mhm.
I'm just, once again, our priorities, we gotta put our priority, we gotta make our health our priority, because if you want a ticket to the game or ticket to the concert or wherever you wanna go, I don't think you're gonna wait till they're gonna call me, they're gonna give me a ticket. No, if you want it, you're gonna keep pushing till you get it. So,
You got to be proactive.
yes.
Very good. Thank you. One more question for you from the chat, Dr. Kelly. They say, how do we help those who used to be sick and shut in? Oh, this is a great question. Recover from deconditioning and begin to start exercise or walking programs. And then there's a part B to that question. I'll ask it once you do the first part.
You know, if you have a family member who's, you know, obviously had a prolonged medical illness where they become deconditioned, the most important thing you can do is, like I said, make them accountable, you know, be accountable. So if you show up, most people will get up and do it. Okay. You don't push them so hard that they get upset with you and don't do it. And then you got to look at the patient age. I'll be honest with you. Some of my older patients move more than some of my younger and middle-aged patients. Okay. Because I mean, several things come into play there. But I think if somebody has been had a prolonged illness, just slowly, if they say, well, come walk with me, I don't care if we go 10 minutes, I'm gonna come commit to do 10 minutes. Eventually the 10 minutes will turn to 20, 30, 40, and then they'll be back on their feet again. So I think just encouraging them, because if you've never had a medical illness, you know, there's a lot of mental things that go on. You have chronic medical illness, and you don't want to let them feel like there's no way out. And so that's where the encouragement comes into play. So.
Very good. Thank you. Part B to that says, is there something that the caregiver or the family member who's helping that person should request from their care team?
I mean, I guess that depends on if, you know, if they need a walk and all those different things. Yeah, those, but usually those things are addressed before the patient leaves the hospital. Okay. But a lot of times, you know, people say, oh, I want home health, or I want, you know, but you really don't get a lot of benefit from somebody coming in your house for 10 minutes. Okay. And that's usually what home health will do. And that's not picking on home health, because you just really, once again, every situation is different. And so you really have to know what this patient has been through and just have to figure out how to encourage them. But if you see something that your healthcare provider needs to help you out with, yeah, I mean, that's what we have, social workers, et cetera, to help you out with things that, you know, that's going to encourage and push people.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kelly.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you, Sister Bettina and Sister Nettie. You guys were fabulous tonight. A couple of more brief announcements. Let's not forget our February marketing updates. The American Heart Association American Heart Month, including the NBCUSA Hope Wear Red Sunday, which is February the 18th. And tomorrow, February 7th, National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day. You may download the complete list of annual health observances from our website, which is www.hopenbc.com. All right, you'll find additional information and resources on our NBC USA Hope webpage. Same page, www.hopenbc.com.
And toolkits.
And you'll find toolkits to help you integrate these observances into your worship so it fits into the flow of Christian worship, and you can easily explain to your congregation how this helps us, you know, mind, body, spirit, holistic wellness, healing ministry of Jesus. All right, we will host our first regional meeting on first regional meeting March 8th and 9th. Let me say it again because I stuttered through it. We will host our first regional meeting March 8th and 9th. Southwest Region 2, Sister Linda Carper is the regional coordinator for that area, and she will convene that meeting, or they will convene that meeting at Liberty Hill Baptist Church in Little Rock, Arkansas. Pastor Roy V. Elliott Jr. is the pastor. And for more information, y'all know where to go. info@hopenbc.com. Email that particular address, ask what you need to ask. Let's also not forget NBC USA Wear Red Sunday. As I mentioned a moment ago, it's February the 18th. I bought another red dress today. I'm excited about it. Sunday, March 3rd, we'll observe NBC USA Hope American Kidney Fund Sunday. We talked about that a moment ago. And then for our next TempleCare Matters on March 5th, 3 things we're going to talk about. We'll talk about National Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. We'll talk about Taste Test Sunday on March 17th, which is so much fun. And we'll talk about NBC USA Hope Regional Meetings Overview. All right, you can join on the web and on social media. Y'all know the webpage, www.hopenbc.com. You can visit us on Facebook, on Twitter, and of course on the NBC USA Hope YouTube channel. If you'd like to enroll in health ministry training, in person or self-paced online, again, email that same email address, info@hopenbc.com. It is constantly being monitored, or call 901-603-0762, and that is Pastor Bernard Montgomery. We would appreciate your feedback on all of these things that we're talking about and sharing all these things that we're doing, trying to do for the body of Christ. We want your opinion, your feedback. And if you will kindly complete our webinar survey, we would appreciate it. We have pasted the link in the chat, I believe. Or you can go to the site for it. It's https://hopenbc.com/webinar survey. All right. I think we covered it all except for acknowledging our team, and we'd be remiss if we did not do that. We would like to send our appreciation, our thanks to the tireless work of our entire NBC USA Hope team, our leader, Dr. Michael O'Miner, Dr. Desi Levy, yours truly, Lottie Miner, Sister Nettie Johnson, Pastor Dexter Moraney, Sister Ellen McKnight Hill, Dr. Felissa Washington, Minister Geraldine Moore, Sister Loretta Miller, Dr. Lavore Williams, Sister Bettina Campbell, Dr. Marion Talley, Brother Thomas Duke Robinson. Our regional coordinators are Pastor Daniel Blackburn, he works in the Northeast. Sister Brooklyn Rogers works in the Southeast. Pastor Bernard Montgomery, Southwest Region 1. Sister Linda Carper, Southwest Region 2. Sister Teresa Fales Farr, Midwest. Sister Tafara Robinson, West. Pastor Richmond Johnson, Far West. And to connect with your regional coordinator, y'all know the website or the email address, info@hopenbc.com. Y'all should be reciting that in your sleep after this webinar is over. So we do understand and we appreciate the fact that some of you have additional questions or comments. So we are going to formally close this evening's webinar in just a moment. We will then open the mics for the folks that are on Zoom for a general Q&A session, and we'll only run that for just a few minutes. And of course, we hope to see everyone back. Same time, same station, Tuesday, March 5th for our next TempleCare Matters webinar. And finally, we want to acknowledge our president, Dr. Jerry Young, who reminds us to envision the future exceptionally. This has been a production, and there's Dr. Young's picture. This has been a production of the National Baptist Convention, USA Incorporated, the nation's largest Black denomination. God bless you and God keep you is our prayer. Good night.